Hi, this is Mrs. Chavez. We're starting a new chapter today. This is chapter 11. It's about urbanization. It's about the growth of cities. So in this chapter, you're going to be introduced to urban geography, and there's going to be two main topics: the function of urban places and the internal arrangement of cities. The focus is going to be on that sixth content area of the AP Human Geography curriculum outline: cities and urban land use patterns and processes. In addition, you'll learn how the presence and growth of cities varies across geographical locations because of physical geography and resources. You're going to understand how the attitudes and values of a population, as well as the balance of power within that population, are reflected in that built landscape. And you'll also investigate the reasons why urban areas face unique economic, political, cultural, and environmental challenges. So let's get at it. Conurbation. One example of a conurbation is the tri-state region of New York City, including 30 counties, that spreads along the New York State, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. There's an estimated population of 21 million, and that was back as far as 2007. I'm sure it's a lot more now. If you take a look at this map, this is an interesting map because this map is going to show you the various conurbations. That's going to be in your dark brown. There's a conurbation that's also considered a megalopolis on the East Coast. There's another one that is between Fort Worth and Dallas. And then there's another one that extends from Santa Barbara all the way down to Tijuana. Conurbations don't recognize borders. San Diego and Tijuana are considered just like one, just like El Paso and Juarez are considered just like one. The other areas that you see in the kind of light gray are closely spaced metropolitan areas. The regions of continuous urbanization, that's how you get a megalopolis. This is a megalopolis that we're looking at right now. This is a larger inset of that megalopolis that was in that last map. And that means that it's a continuous string of growth. Where one city ends, the other one starts. And sometimes it's difficult to tell where one ends and the other one starts. But it's a nearly continuous urban string that stretches in here from Boston to Southern Virginia. So settlement routes. People are gregarious. They love to live together. People don't like to live usually by themselves. They need a sense of community. They come together for certain reasons. Protection is one. That's the major reason why people came together originally. And then, of course, cooperative effort. Not everybody can have a silo to store grain, but if you can have a community silo to store grain. So rural settlements were first very communal. They became that was actually the near universal rule, that most of the rural settlements were communal. And you'll find that in many of the countries, like in India, in China, where the rural areas are considered to be communal. They'll live in a small village, and people will go in the mornings and they will go out and work the fields. In some countries, a rural settlement is any settlement in the area defined as rural by a government office or by the National Census Bureau. And this may include even rural towns. In some other countries, rural settlements are traditionally don't include towns. And the common types of rural settlements are considered villages, hamlets, farms. Those are all rural areas that are rural. Now, some scientists believe that the very first cities were founded around 7000 BCE in Mesopotamia. And some of the first cities included Eridu, Uruk, and Ur. The creation of cities allowed people to store these surplus food production and minimize the transport costs for goods and services. City and civilization have the same Latin root, civis, and they originated or diffused from very early cultural hearts that developed first sedentary agriculture. When people began to settle down, they were still hunting, but then they were no longer doing just hunting and gathering. They had settled into an area, they were sedentary, and they began to grow crops. So what are the functions of a city? Cities are at the center of all very early civilizations. People from surrounding areas came to cities to live, to work, and trade. Cities concentrated political, religious, and social institutions, and they spread across many smaller, separate communities, which contributed to the development of what we call the state eventually. Diverse peoples come together to exchange goods and services and ideas, and also to be stratified by race, by ethnicity, and social class. You will find that in the city. If you look at this map here, look at these two pictures here. One is a picture of Atlantis, and this is in concentric circles. This is what people believe Atlantis looked like. This is very stratified. Certain people lived in certain areas, and once we get to the models in the cities, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Before the invention of modern warfare techniques, many cities were founded for defensive purposes. Walled cities were very common in ancient history, because walls could protect a city from an attack. The invention of this modern heavy artillery and aerial warfare kind of rendered the protection of these walled cities as useless. As population grew, cities also became important centers. They became centers of government, while they might also serve a lot of other functions, social, political, economic functions. Certain cities arose as seats of power for a centralized government, and oftentimes states grew out of cities. If you think about, let me give you an example, Paris, France. Paris grew, from Paris, it grew and grew and grew and became the country of France.